Alrighty, everybody. What's up, guys? How's it going? Here's Jimmy, just back with another episode of Combat and Cryptids. You know, I did. So let's see. I did a video last week, but for some reason, it was corrupted, and it wouldn't let me open it, and it wouldn't let me recover it. And then it was like you could repair the video and like the MP file and the format and stuff, but it would cost like $70. And I was like, man, I'm not doing that. So I was like, yep. So I was just thinking I just postpone that last one. And then I can kind of just start it from here and just pretty much do the same thing again. The same one from last episode that didn't get uploaded, and hope that it actually gets recorded correctly. And then actually, let me see something real quick. Pardon me. Let's see, let's put that on Do Not Disturb. Do Not Disturb, right there. And then let us go with this. And then we're actually just going to record it on our phone and see if we can get kind of the same kind of setup and everything like that. So let's just start it right now and see what happens. If it works out great, then that's good. But if it doesn't, then at least we'll be able to have a secondary video at least then, and then we can kind of use that for everything else. You know what I mean? So anyways, enough of my soapbox. Let's get into today's episode, which is going to be about this this place. And it was kind of I don't know. It was kind of a, what's the best way to put it? It was kind of a shitty place. So at this point in the deployment, we're in Marja, Afghanistan, and basically Marja is, I mean, it was a cool place for when you were there and stuff like that. It wasn't that bad of an area and stuff, but because it was mainly gunfights. I guess Marja was really big on gunfights, so it's not really too much you had to worry about or anything like that. I mean, you did have to worry about some stuff, as far as with the last episode that went from there. But for the majority of everyone, kind of got into a routine, And when we were with our platoon and stuff like that and all that, everything was kind of great. Everything was kind of grand. But when you split off and went with your actual squad that you were with, things just kind of got a little hectic then, because then you're not with the engineers anymore. You're more with like the grunt platoons, and then it's just you and a squad of engineers. So 11 guys. I think we had 8 at the time. 8, yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I think we had 6 actually. To be honest, first platoon, second platoon, third platoon. Yeah, so we had 6, and that was everybody. That was including the squad leader, team leaders, everybody. That was 6 people, because they took the majority of them and went to kind of a different area. And basically what happened from there is we're in Marja and we're doing our normal patrols, we're doing our normal things and stuff like that, going to day-to-day operations in Marja. And for some reason, so this place is called Sangin Valley, and Sangin Valley is without a doubt probably the worst place. It's just a huge shithole. It was not, I don't know why we went there. There was no reason to go there. I think, like, in my opinion, there was no reason to go there, but it just seemed like it just wasn't a good place to be. Like, and there was no reason to be there, but we went there anyways, and that's just kind of how it went. So at this point, we are in, I think we have 3 months left on our deployment, on this deployment, and usually there's 7-month deployments, and usually you kind of just stay in the same area, well, at least the same region where you're deployed to and stuff like that. You usually stay in that kind of an area. So to go from that and to rip out of an area you've already been in for 5 months and been in that long, you kind of get to that spot where you're like, you get comfortable with the thing, you get comfortable with the routine and everything like that. So to get ripped out of that and basically start over in a new area was hard, man. I mean, it wasn't an easy thing to do. It wasn't an easy thing to deal with, but you kind of had to roll with the punches. That's just the way everything kind of was. So we start hearing about this Sangin, which is kind of like the next, I guess the easiest way to put it is the next town over for them. And Sangin, so basically 3-5 was the battalion that was there, and 3-5 was basically they were getting fucked up with everything. They were getting blown up left and right, and it was not a pretty sight. And coming from Marja, being an engineer, you were just basically a grunt. Like there was no things, like you didn't really do your job, I guess, is like as far as what I thought as an engineer was. And as an engineer, I thought, explosives, IEDs, bombs, that kind of thing. That was what we were there for, and that's kind of what we had geared up for our build up and everything for, was for all of those things. And you get 5 months into deployment in Marja, and then you were just a grunt. You were just doing firefights and stuff like that, which was cool. It was fun. But we get there and we do all these things, and it's just not what you're ready for. You're ready to hear, I guess. So 3-5 is the first ones to go into. They're the first Marines to go into Sangin after the Brits. So the Brits had it before the Marines did. So it was basically the Brits were ripping out. They were going off into some other stupid area, and basically 3-5 was taken over. And within the first month that they were there, that whole unit, that whole battalion became combat ineffective within that first month. It was unheard of, kind of the things that were going on and the things they were dealing with, because it was not, you can prepare for all these firefights and all these other, ROEs or rules of engagement or whatever you want to call them. But to go from that kind of a mentality of like gunfights and, closing on the enemy and shooting and all this other cool, Ricky Recon kind of stuff, all these kind of things. These are kind of things that you're used to and what you want to do. But to get blown up by some asshat who put a bomb under the ground because he's too scared to shoot at you or do anything with that, he's going to put a bomb in the ground. It's going to get you blown up, which is not, as shitty as it was, it's not how you wanted to go out. And it did happen. Those kinds of things did happen. It was kind of shitty. So within that first month, 3-5 is combat ineffective. So at this point now, everyone in that area is kind of trying to send Marines there to kind of just give them a hand, hey, you guys, we lost these guys. You guys will take over their spot, and then we'll kind of move on to the next area. And you guys will just kind of stay there and patrol and do what we were normally doing in Marja. So we're like, yeah, cool, man. We didn't really have a choice in the matter, so there's not really much we can. You can say that you want to, oh no, I want to stay. It doesn't fucking matter. The input you're giving and stuff like that it doesn't matter. You're just there to do what the hell they tell you, and that's kind of how it goes. So what ends up happening is basically, so Echo Company starts the whole rip, and basically Echo Company starts pulling out of the areas that we're already in. So we kind of take over, stop patrolling those areas. Basically another company is coming there to relieve us. So it's like a tiered relief system. So one company comes in first to relieve us, and they get like a week or two of training for the area and stuff like that, which it was, that place, like Fox 14 and all them crazy ass places we were in Marshall were not, you could get into firefights, stuff like that, but it wasn't anything crazy. It was something to easily take over and be okay with that and be normal with it. So we're doing the rip with them. Everybody's just kind of explaining what was going on, how many patrols they do a day and stuff like that. So we just kind of do that, and everything kind of just goes well and kind of gets the ball rolling. So at that point we basically, once the company, and I forget the company that was ripping with us, it was some other unit. And basically, once they feel comfortable and we're like, hey, 2 weeks is up, we're heading out because we're going to go give 3-5 a hand in Sangin. And basically from there, you go to, I forget the main cop that was right in Sangin. It was a big base. It didn't have anything crazy. It didn't have like a hotel and all this other good stuff. But they had all of the bigger tents, the bigger chow hall and stuff like that, which was cool. You haven't gotten that for 5 months, and to see that, it's like, oh my god, it is like the Taj Mahal, because you've been in, sleeping in a sleeping bag or sleeping on a cot or sleeping on the ground for the last 5 months, and it's just miserable. So you're like, man, I don't want to do any of this. So, but you get there, and that's what it looks like. So you got all your generals and all your colonels and everybody who's the operation side of everything. That's where they're all at, and that's all that they're doing is they're coming up with strategy plans to where they want to go and where they want to push to and what kind of the reasoning behind everything. I guess the whole these are all of your officers who are in charge of everything, and they're the ones that makes the big decisions. Whatever, sure, whatever, do whatever you want. Either way, we got to do it. So regardless. So basically, we get there, our company gets there, and then with a squad of engineers. So and I'll go from top to bottom as far as seniority. So you got Sergeant Romriel, who's the new squad leader, as Sergeant Billier got shot. So he's kind of the one who took over, which cool dude. I mean, great Marine. Like this dude was cool as shit. You got Sergeant Romriel, you got Sug, you have Galvan, you have me, you have Canary, and you have Mets. That's all they get. 2 per squad. That's six Marines, 6 engineers for that. So basically, each two engineers will go with 1 platoon as you break up and go into your PBs and stuff like that. So basically, that's what we're basically waiting on. And it's just a waiting game from there. Like the first week you're there at this COP, you basically go through these these IED trainers, and they set you up with all these PowerPoints of stuff, and these are all just EOD techs that are telling you all this stuff because they're the ones who are dealing with it all. There's no firefights going on, so no one's being shot at. There's no gunfights. There's nothing like that. Well, there's no gunfights up to this point. Like this is all just bombs. That's all. That's basically everything that you're dealing with is just bombs, which is, I mean, that's cool. I mean, it's cool in a sense of you talk about things and these things, and you try and prepare for them. You do your pre-deployment. You try and prepare your mindset and everything going on with all these things because little did we know this next 3 months of this deployment was probably the biggest thing. It's going to break you. That's the biggest way to think about it. You see all these you saw all these World War II veterans and all these other Vietnam veterans and all that stuff, and they always have that 1,000-yard stare where they're like, man, these guys are fucked up, they're crazy as shit. And to see that kind of coming forward as you're living it was it was crazy. It was insane to see and deal with. But you thought to yourself, there's no way, man. There's no way that you could be like this after, seeing these 3-5 guys after, them being there a month and a half. I'm like, there's no way, man. I'm like, we've been here for 5 months, bro. We're not like this. We're not off our rocker like this, are we? No, there's no way. So it quickly figured out why they are like that and stuff like that. And once you get that shell shock and stuff like that, it really puts it in perspective for you for this shit's real life, and it's not. And it's shitty days. There's more shitty days than there are good days. You have small wins, but they're not good enough, So basically, we go through all these trainings and all that stuff. The chief warrant officer, who's in charge of the EOD company and stuff like that, they do all this training for all the bombs that are there and what you're going to encounter and what you're going to see and stuff like that. And you kind of just, you try and get prepared for it. So that's kind of what we were trying to do. Up to this point, this is what we were trying to do. So we basically get all these certifications and stuff to do what's called bipping. So bipping is blowing in place. So EOD techs are few and far between. They're like Bigfoot. You talk about them, but you don't really see them. So you basically, for the whole region and area, you may have a fire team or a squad of EOD techs. So you got to think that's 8 to 10 guys who are specifically certified to deal with improvised explosive devices. And where Sangin is located is right next to the Helmand River, which is where basically they would bring all of their supplies across. They're bringing all of these things across. That's where they're bringing all their explosives, all their plasticizers, what they're using to make blasting caps, all that kind of stuff. They're bringing all of that across. And Sangin is kind of like the middle part of, or the start of that whole operation. Then everything gets spread out to Marja, and then you have other areas around there that kind of are going through the same thing. Because, there's other Marines, other battalions and stuff like that are all in the surrounding areas, and you're all just kind of trying to converge and take over kind of the area to make it safer, which is really what we're trying to do. So we go. So basically, after you get all those trainers and stuff like that, you basically go to your PB. So we're the platoon. I forget if we were first platoon or third platoon. I don't remember which platoon. I think it was third platoon because I think first platoon was him. He had that tall gunny that was always. He was kind of a douchebag, but I forget his name. But the staff fatigue and the officer we had and the squad leaders that we were attached to for this grunt platoon, phenomenal guys. Sergeant Baker, phenomenal dude, tall, 6'8" black dude that he's probably one of the scariest dudes you'll ever meet. But when you talk to him and stuff like that, he's probably the nicest guy you'll ever talk to. So they had him, and then the other squad leader was these are the two that stuck out to me the most as far as leadership. And then you had Sergeant Clubmate. So Sergeant Clubmate was this short, little stock. I'd say little. He's probably like 5'4", 5'3", or something like that. But he was probably one of the coolest dudes you would ever meet. Like down to earth, like knew his shit. And these guys knew like tactics, like war tactics. Like these guys knew what they were doing, and they'd been through this. Like they had been through combat deployments, not to the extent of bombs that we were going to deal with. This is the first time any of us is going to deal with this. So basically, from there we get to our patrol base. Everybody kind of gets off the 7-ton and stuff like that, which it was only from the main compound we were at to where that first PB was maybe, but you could probably you could see it for sure. You could see it from where we were, but maybe it was half a mile away, maybe at most half a mile. But the amount of hills and valleys and all this stuff, it was so insane how deep some of these valleys went to where you could walk 20 feet away and you'd be down in a ravine where you couldn't see 20 feet where you just came from. That's kind of how this area was. It was very hills, valleys, all this kind of stuff. And you were separated by two zones, and we called one the green zone, and we called one the brown zone. So the green zone was where all your trees, your your veggies, your crops, and all the housing and stuff is. Then you had the brown zone, which was basically all just huts and just open desert. Like there wasn't any, it's just like a desert. Like it was just like you had houses and stuff out there, but there wasn't any crops or anything like that. It was all, that's how we separated everything. The brown zone was fun because there wasn't anything there. You could just walk and kind of go on a patrol and stuff like that. And you kind of just mosey along and do all this stuff. But the green zone was where everything with the chaos and everything ensues. So basically, we get to the PB and we, excuse me. It's Friday, guys. I don't know what you're expecting out of me, but, so we get there, we get to the PB, and it was so weird and so different of an environment because you always have on patrol base, you have what's called ANA. And ANA are basically Afghan National Armies who go out with you on these patrols for one, to translate things and go through things and your procedures and stuff like that. And two, you're there to help them to be more confident and be more comfortable with what they're doing. You had some really good ANA, and then you also had some really shady ANA. And that's people in general. You're always going to have some good eggs and some bad eggs. That's just kind of the way it is. But when we got to this PB, it was probably 2.5, 3 acres big of an area. And you have little corner posts where you set up and you have like a rotating shift of people who are gunners and stuff. And they sit up there and make sure nobody's coming in and stuff like that. But 80% of this PB was all controlled by the ANA, which we thought was, number one, it's already a red flag for us because we came from Marja where we are in control of our area. If I'm going to bed at night and we're going to sleep, you're making sure that I'm not going to wake up with people shooting up our tent or somebody throwing a grenade in our tent, stuff like that. So you made sure that the people you were there to help and to protect and stuff, that you were there for their safety as much as they were there for yours. Like it was a tit for tat. But when we got to this patrol base, it was the complete opposite. They didn't trust these ANA guys. And they basically, the Marines who were there, they shunned themselves off in like a little corner. And they just had their tent and their COC. and that was it. And it was like, well, no, this is not how this works. This is not how this operates. This is not how we're gonna operate. We're taking back all of this stuff. We're gonna give you A&A guys a little bit of corner because we're the ones risking everything here. So we basically put them in their own little tent, put them in their corner, and we're like, hey, you guys can get water, you can get food and all this stuff. But as far as wandering around, going everywhere you want, like, no. Like, that's not how this works. Accountability was one of the biggest things. And if you didn't know where dudes were at some point in time, so say you get like mortars put on you or something like that, you want to know where everybody is. So we made sure to enforce that immediately. So we changed up the way everything was set up. We put our tents up where we wanted them. We did everything how we made it home, like how we would want it. So, and that's what we did. And so we start. So everybody gets settled in and all that stuff. And basically, these guys are doing 3 patrols a day. 3 patrols. So you do 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 right before dark. So basically, for that, we basically tagged along with the engineers and saw just kind of how they ran things. There were 2 engineers with this squad that was there, and basically, it was I couldn't remember the dude's name even if you told me. Like, remember what his face looks like? Couldn't remember his name. Couldn't remember who he was for the life of me. So he basically tells us how his protocols are. Basically, they're cutting up C4, and they're using all of these explosives and all this craziness, and the whole P equals plenty type stuff, which is not like for supplies that take forever to get there. I'm like, you guys are going through a lot of C4, and you guys are going through a lot of C4, which was not. It was not what we wanted to. God damn this damn phone. Let's see if we can do this. Let's do this real quick. Sorry guys, but I want to make sure that all of this gets recorded, and I'd rather put it together in 3 videos than not have it at all. Which good thing about that story is I know what it all is. So Let's see if we can get rid of these 2. I'm sorry guys, give me like 30 seconds and then we will quickly get back to this. But I just want to make sure this stuff records, because I'm going to be pissed if I do this for a second time and it doesn't let me watch it again. That's what I'm really. I think it will, because I changed the format of all of it, but we'll see. We will see. All right, let's see if that works. Will that work now? There we go. Oh shit, that's the wrong way. All right, there we go. All right, let's try that again. All right, so basically with those guys, it was very they were using a lot of explosives to do a lot of their stuff, which I thought was already number one. It's way too much. You're using way too much explosives to get the job done. So and we were gonna wait for we didn't care if they were, if they're doing this themselves. That's what made them feel comfortable. So we just let them do what they wanted to do. Obviously, when they left, we were gonna change some stuff, but for the time being, we let them talk and say their 2 cents of what they wanted to, which was cool. So basically from there we go we go out on some patrols and stuff like that. And the first thing that caught us off guard was normally in a patrol, like what we would normally do is we'd either walk parallel, like side by side, and then you would have the whole squad and you would walk down opposite sides of the road or buildings or wherever the hell it is you walk. Or we would do what's called satellite patrolling, which is basically one team will be in front. It's basically making a V of like 4-man teams, like 4-man team here, 4-man team here, and then a 4-man team in the middle. And you were just basically satellite patrolling. There was no rhyme, no reason. It made it harder for people to kind of just predict where you were going and where you were going to be. And the biggest thing for us, well, the most shocking part for us was everything that they did was all in a ranger file. And what I mean by a ranger file is they basically walked one behind the other in a straight line everywhere they went. And we thought that that was odd and it was weird. We didn't, it seems weird to us because we weren't used to it. Was it weird in general? Yes. But did we quickly find out why they did it? Of course. Yeah. We find out like you have to adapt to the area and the region you're in, which is what we had to do. So we get to the point where they're leaving, they're going to a new area and stuff like that. And we got it all. We're taking over. We set up our stuff. We do what we want. We do things how we want to do. Me and Sug run the explosives and do all this stuff the way we want it, and that's it. So up to this point now, we've been there for a couple weeks. Nobody's gotten killed. No one's gotten blown up. Nothing crazy has happened and stuff like that. So we're like, hey, let's push our luck a little bit. If you have nothing, if you get comfortable and you get into these situations and stuff like that, it's very easy to get complacent in these kind of areas. Very easy. So we have this place. It's called Sparta Bridge. And Sparta Bridge, shitty place. Never would want to go back there ever again. Never did want to go back there and never did go back there. But basically, Sparta Bridge was this area where a canal ran down it. And on the corner of it was a mosque. On the other side was a building. On the other corner was another building. And it was like a little market area. But it used to be the Brits had it. And the Brits basically had it. And then the Taliban kind of pushed him out of the area. Well, pushed him out of the area. It sounds like so fucking cliche. They pushed him out of the area. And basically, the Taliban took it all over. Okay? So Sparta Bridge was just a good area because it was the main area where all the vehicles would have to go. You could cross another bridge, but you had to go way out of your way to get to it. So that was the area that you wanted to go to. So we definitely wanted to take that back. And you would just put a little OP out there, a little operation, like observation posts and stuff like that, which is just basically all we want to do. We just wanted to observe. We weren't going to send patrols out or anything like that. We just wanted to see what was going on. So me and Sergeant Clubman, and I think Sug was with us too at this time, because we were going to do a lot of stuff on this day. And you would always, right before you go out on patrol, you get to that point where, you cheat death enough, and then at some point things have to catch up to you. And the good thing, you want to realize that before it's your last one. And what I mean by that is, you always want to quit while you're ahead. It's just like gambling. It's just like poker. At some point, if you keep putting your chips in, you're going to lose. And if you want a wake-up call and you want to get your legs blown off, you keep pushing the limit, and eventually something happens. So I wasn't there at that point yet. Well, not yet, but I realized it pretty quick that I was to that point. I wanted to be done. So we get to... We're doing a patrol up to Sparta Bridge, and we get to the corner where the mosque, so if it's like a four-way intersection, like, oh shit, that's the wrong way, four-way intersection like this, and on the corner of one is the mosque, and that's where we're walking up to, and on the right side of me is a canal with a little road that goes beside it, that goes between the mosque wall, road, and then the water. And basically, the wall, there's like a 10-foot wall that extends around the whole perimeter of the thing, and you basically can't go inside of it, which you're not supposed to go inside mosque anyways. It was like a big forbidden thing that they had. So we get up to the corner of the wall before I'm probably about 200, 300 feet away from the actual Sparta Bridge itself. and it's dead quiet. It's so dead quiet. There's nothing, there's usually kids out playing, people doing crop stuff, like there's just nothing out. And you just always get that kind of like, hey, something's wrong here. Something's not right. So we have a bomb dog, the worst bomb dog in the world. Just gonna preface that. I hate those dogs. They are completely useless. They might be like, oh my God, this one's so good. I don't care. In my particular incident, when it happened, the bomb dog was useless. He didn't do his job, and I hate them for the rest of my life until the day that I die, because this thing, split second, another decision almost got me killed. So I hate him. So basically, we're walking up this trail, and I'm like, hey, I called the kid up, and a kid, I'm 20 at the time. I call him up, and I'm like, hey, I want your bomb dog to sniff up the side of this road, and I want him to figure and see if he can find any bombs. So he's like, all right, cool. So he starts giving them the mechanic commands, doing all that stuff. And then Sergeant Clubmate comes up there, and I'm like, hey, dude, this is what I plan on doing. I'm like, I'm going to give us a little safe area right here. I'm going to blow through the corner of the wall because I have 6 sticks of C4 on my back. I'm going to blow through the corner of the wall. And then basically when we blow the wall out, we will then walk. We won't go in the mosque, but we will go kind of catty corner to where the mosque starts. And it has like a gate on the side so you can walk through and get to the road. And he's like, yeah, no, for sure. Like that sounds good to me. And now this kid is with the dog handler. He's like off to the back of me, just giving his dog commands to run down the road, smell, and do all that stuff. And I think Sergeant Clubmate is to my left. He's probably about 3 feet behind me. And then I'm just telling him what I want to do and kind of where I want to go. And I shit you not, as soon as the words don't finish my mouth. As soon as the words come out of my mouth, like this is what I want to do, I turn around and probably I would say 20 to 30 pounds of homemade explosive just blows and rips up right in front of me. Boom! The loudest sound you'll ever hear in your entire life. I don't care if you hear fireworks on 4th of July. I don't care how close you've been to a siren. It doesn't make a difference. This sound is unnerving, and it's gut-wrenching how loud it is. And it's just an immediate boom, and it's done and over with. So this loud-ass sound goes off. We're all fucking discombobulated. We didn't get fucked up. Like, you think, like, you always, like, when you get rocked and stuff like that, you always feel for your legs. You're like, please, 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 let them little things be there and stuff. Because you're always in shock. That immediate shock is always crazy. So you feel your legs and stuff like that, and you're already pissed. You got hit by rocks. You got all this other crazy stuff going on. People are screaming. Everybody's asking, making sure, because everybody else in the squad who's on the patrol is 40 feet behind us, all in a ranger file. Doom, 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 So everyone just sees us get fucking dusted out and covered with this fucking explosive. And they're thinking like, oh, fuck, those guys are like, they're done. There's no way. Because I had the C4 on my back. The explosive went off 3 feet in front of me. And they're like, oh, yeah, they're toast. Like, no way. So we come walking out and everything like that. And we're so pissed. Like, we were so pissed. You have no idea how pissed we are. Because the dog just ran right over it. 3 feet in front of us, right where the dog started. Nothing. Didn't hit on it. Didn't do nothing. Dog is like 8 feet past it. 8 feet past the bomb. Gets his tail broke or some shit like that. And then has to get medevaced and evac'd out along with the douchebag handler that was with him. So then we're all fucking pissed off and shit like that. Because now we're like that's when, everything kind of sets in. Your reality sets in and you kind of go, nah, man, this is not what you want to do. Because specifically, how do I say this? The moment of awakening for you is when you get to a point where someone specifically came out there to kill you. That's like the point in time where you're like, fuck, this shit's real. Those dudes specifically, the dude that came out there and hit that 9-volt battery, positive, negative, boop, specifically came out there to kill us. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He wasn't out there for the dog. He was out there for us too, because we were the ones closest to it, and we were the ones in front, and we were the ones kind of make the decision what we wanted to do. That's when you come to the realization where you can only do this so many times before your number is called. So at that point in time, I was done. I'm like, we're going back to the patrol base. So I'm done. Like, I'm done with this patrol. We tried, got fucked up. We're not doing it. So we start walking back. And so, of course, Sergeant Clubmate's all about it. You know, he's like, fuck, dude, we only got like a month and a half. Why are we risking all of this for this bullshit? Like, we don't want to, we don't want anybody else to die. Like, at that point, like, there's no reason to. Like, what? So we can make a name for ourselves? Motherfucker, we already made a name for ourselves. We don't need this. So we're walking back. We're going back on the patrol. We're going back to the PB. And they come over the radio. They're like, hey, EOD's on their way. Explosive ordnance disposal. Well, I'm like, there's no explosive to dispose of because it already fucking blew up on us. And they're like, hey, they want to do a post blast, which basically a post blast is they want to take pictures and take stuff from the blast area to show what they were using. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. You know, you're already pissed off. You're already angry. You're like, man, I don't want to fucking do this shit. Why? So then orders are orders regardless. So we turn back around. We go back to the hole. And basically we're like sitting there waiting for EOD. They get like there like 30, 45 minutes later and shit like that. And they basically pull up and they're like, hey, we're going to kind of check out the area and stuff like that. Kind of see what wires were used, what explosives and all that stuff. And we're like, cool, whatever. He basically, and then he's like, hey, I want you to sweep past the hole. I'm like, you want me to sweep past the hole that just almost fucking killed me? I'm like, sure, why not? Why would I not do that? So I sweep past the hole and put a saw gunner on the other side. A little short dude. He was cool as fuck. I forget his name, but I put him past the hole. So he's basically just laying in the prone, and he's just looking at all the windows and stuff like that, see what's going on. And the EOT tech's in the hole and stuff like that because there's no charges. He's like scooping around and stuff like that. And he starts pulling on the wire that he thinks is going back to where the main charge was or where the guy initiated the charge. And basically starts pulling the wire, and the wire wides off. And basically goes right. One side goes into the mosque where Haji Bob was looking at us and then blew it up. And then there's another wire that goes left, and right literally where we both were standing, in between both of us, was the remains of a 25-pound pressure cooker, like a steel pot cooker that was charred on the edge because the explosives didn't go off. And that's the point in time where I was like, yep. And with that being said, I'm not risking anything else for any of this, because that was the difference between shrapnel being blown up, legs, arms, everything missing, to, hey, I'm still alive. You know, you're strike one, you're strike two, man, strike three, and you're out, buddy. So at that point, I'm like, how many more of these can I get? How many more run-ins like this can I get? And it isn't a sound that I want to hear, number one, and I'm not going to hear it, number two. So basically from there, so we head back. So they do their post blast, they blow up the stuff and everything like that. We go back to the patrol base and stuff like that. We let everybody know what happened and all that crazy ass shit. And, you know, everybody always wanted to, you know, like me and Sergeant Clubmate got fucked up. We got rocked. I probably got knocked out. I don't remember. Like, to be honest, it's all a little fuzzy. But they tried to put in, so this was the shady part about it. Like, you can put in, they were like, hey, you can put in for a Purple Heart because you got blown up. But I had nothing wrong with me. I mean, I probably had a concussion and stuff like that, a little bit of TBI, PTSD, all that kind of stuff. But for the majority, I was good. Like, sound of mind and stuff like that, I was good. So, but to put in for that kind of an award, I would basically have to leave SUG there, and I would have to go back to the main fob, and then they would take a look at you and stuff like that, do x-rays and stuff like that, which I didn't want to do. Like, I'm not going to leave him out there. Like, it's fucked up. Like, I spent the last year and a half with this guy. I'm not going to fucking leave him. Like, this dude is like if you had your version of your best friend, like, this dude is my, like, ride or die when it comes to these kind of things. Like, it's always tit for tat. Like, finish each other's sentences. Do the same thing. All this stuff. Me and SUG were like, we were like bros. So I'm like, hell no, I ain't gonna leave his ass. So then I say, go pounce in. And then, so basically I deny all that stuff, and we kind of just keep going back on the patrols. Well, a couple weeks later, so everybody comes with this big game plan. where they're like, hey, like, we're going to try one more time to go to Sparta Bridge. And 110%, I disagreed with it. I didn't want to go. It was just not, I didn't want to live with that on my conscience. I was not going to be put in the type of situation where, number one, I didn't want to get the fucking blown up. Number two, and the two is probably the biggest one, I didn't want to get someone else blown up for myself trying to prove something or do something that I didn't really need to do. We had like a month and a half left. You look at the dates on when these guys died to when we left that shithole. Less than a month. The last month. And just like I said in my previous one, everyone dies in the first month and the last month. Because the first month you're brand new and you don't know what's going on. And the last month you see that light at the end of the tunnel and you get complacent. So I was against this completely, 100%. I'm going to throw that out there. I don't care who thinks, whatever you think about it, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. I'm letting you know that I was against all of this from the get-go. So we basically have this whole huge plan of how they want to attack Sparta Bridge. You know, we have diagrams, we have drawings, we have all this stuff, and that doesn't make a difference because there's still bombs there. And basically what we did not know, so to preface this and give you an idea of how many bombs there are. So basically the Brits were there before us, and the Brits basically made a pact with the Taliban to say, hey, you don't shoot at us and we won't shoot at you. And that was kind of the thing. You know, it was a little tit for tat. Like, nobody wanted to even be there. Nobody wanted to do it. So, okay, cool, whatever. So basically what the Taliban did from them, they basically haloed them in. So basically where their PB was, regardless of what it was, go out 100 meters, and they place 30 to 40 bombs around there. Around buildings, around doorways, around walkways, all this stuff. They would just place bombs. They wouldn't set them off. They would just leave them there. Some of them were pressure plates. Some of them were commandants. Some of them were DFCs. But then outside of that next halo, they would put 40 more. And then the next halo would be 40 more. So you just have these rings and rings and rings of bombs. And that's how the Taliban operated with them. So if you ever did something, or you broke a treaty, or you killed somebody, you did something, then they would set these charges off and blow you up. So basically we called them legacy IEDs. Legacy IEDs were basically IEDs that were put in the ground so long ago that even the Taliban dudes who put them there, they would forget where they would put them. So that's why, hence, the charge that blew me up first was not, I wasn't in the right spot. I should have been 3 feet more forward, and that would have put Sergeant Club May on the other charge. So they didn't know where they were. Everything had been so packed, and the ground has been so packed after being there for 7-8 months that they just forget where they are. So they have these, that's what we called them, was legacy IDs. And just to preface, so pressure plates are basically 2 pieces of wood with carbon rods that you get from batteries, like the big batteries. You get carbon rods, and basically they would create a connection and a circuit. So there'd be a 9-volt battery, 2 pressure plates, wood with carbon rods that would be across the top and bottom, and then they would go to a wire that would be on a charge. So where you stepped on it, then either if you stepped on it here and the charge was 6 feet behind you, would get your buddy behind you or get your buddy in front of you, or it would be directly underneath it and it would just blow yourself up. So pressure plates were cool. You know, I love pressure plates. You want to know why? Because pressure plates, I was in control of it. There was no, I didn't have to worry about somebody else blowing me up. And the one thing that I liked about pressure plates is if I blew it up, then that's my fault. But because Commandant, which Commandant was basically just a cable that went to a blasting cap, a homemade blasting cap, and the wire went away to some little dude in a hole, and he would basically connect the battery to it. It would send the charge to the blasting cap, it would give it a spark, and it would blow it up, and that's what would create the explosives. And the other one was a DFC, which was a directional fragmentation charge. So the updated version of a Claymore is all that it is. Those were they were really uncommon. You found a couple of them, but they take so long to make because they put them in like the mud walls and stuff like that. So when you see the mud all freshly repacked and like head level, like obviously you know that something's there, so you just don't go that area, or you just blow it up with something. Is usually what we did. And this isn't like, this isn't the Hurt Locker style stuff, Like EOD had bomb suits. Did they ever wear bomb suits? No. Nobody's wearing that damn bomb suit. Nobody's wearing anything heavy, protective like that. No. Because at that point, and this is the philosophy that I live by, when we were there, it was a quote, we used it every day, was the way we found the bombs was either I'm right or all of a sudden it's not my problem anymore. And what we meant by that was either you clipped the right wire, you pulled the right bomb, and you got it right, or you clipped the wrong wire, you stepped in the wrong spot, you did the wrong thing, and all of a sudden you got blown up, and it ain't your problem no more. So that's how we live by it. That's how those EOD techs live by it. That's how they showed us. It's the same. So we all had the same kind of mentality. So anyway, so we have this big idea to go push the Sparta Bridge, and we want to do it. It sounds, everyone thinks it sounds great. Didn't think it was great. Myself and Sergeant Club May. You want to know why? Because we were the ones that got rocked up front with the last one in the same exact area. I'm not going to another area where I just got fucked up. And we went out there the next day, and they had already had 20 to 30 more IEDs in place of the ones that just blew us up. So why would we go to a place where everything's against us? Like, there's no reason to go. We have nothing to prove. We have nothing to showcase anything. It's literally just to make a name for yourself. Some lieutenant, some officer is chasing ribbons, and that's what he wanted to do. And it pissed me off so much. I was not for it. I didn't go. At the time, I didn't go. But I told Sug that too. And this is probably the only altercation and anger and pissed off that me and him ever got at each other. So we have this whole big thing. So I'm up on an OP and Overwatch position with a couple 240 and some the hell are those damn things called? The big ass guns that shoot fucking 7.62. 240 gunners. Yeah, there you go. So the other 240s, we're just overwatching, make sure nobody's coming up. Then we got binos and stuff like that. But it's probably about 100 meters away from the actual patrol that's down going up to Sparta Bridge. And their idea there is where I was going on the right side to go to the mosque and the canal, they were going to go up the main road because they're like, oh, why would they blow the main road up? That's where all the vehicles pass and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, okay. That's your thought process through this whole thing. Okay, cool. That's on you. So, and you can see this patrol going, and they're going very slow, because this is a marathon. It ain't a sprint. So it's one of those things that you're going to be out there for 4 or 5 hours because you are trying to go slow enough so you don't make a mistake because you don't want to live with that on your conscience. And what I mean by that is you might be okay as far as the person searching for the bomb. So Sug might have been okay, or I might have been okay, but the worst sound you could ever hear is a bomb that goes off behind you. In front of you, you're fine. No one's there. You're fine. That's your fault. Behind you means you missed something and you got somebody else hurt or killed. And that's not what you wanted to do. So at this point, they probably get like a couple 100 feet they're up to the mosque store now. And there's jugs everywhere. Like Sug is going in with the CMD, which is compact metal detector, and he's sweeping like a fucking champ, going at it. And this dude going 10 feet, boop, 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 uncovering an explosive. He's picking it up, putting the jug out, 40-pound jug, bam, 20-pound jug, bam, 30-pound jug, bam, 25-pound jug, bam. All these explosives, he's just pulling them out. It's like you just won the fucking lotto. That little prize thing where you grab the shit and you win the prize, that's what he's doing. He's just grabbing out explosives, clipping the wire, going to it, bam, bam, bam. So they get to a point where he's probably 15, 20 feet from the bridge. Like once you get to the bridge, it's not even game over. That's just to the bridge. Like you haven't even gotten to the building. You haven't done anything. So he gets to the bridge, and it's probably about hour 2.5, somewhere around there. So then at that point, we get the go ahead to break down the OP and come down because all the extra guys are sitting in the corner of the mosque where the dude was that had the charges and stuff like that. He was on the inside on that wall. And basically you could go in there because you're not technically inside the mosque. So that's where everybody was sitting. So we break down the Overwatch position. We go down there. Everybody's hot. Everybody's tired. And you don't want to be there. Like, and then to this day, I told them hundreds of times, like, we don't need to do this. You don't need to go there. So we're all sitting on the inside right there. People are drinking water. People are trying to stay hydrated and stuff like that. Keep their eye on the task of what we're actually there to do and stuff. And so as I'm sitting, I'm looking at the wall. There's a door to the left side. The right is the mosque. And as I'm sitting there, Sug is probably about 10 feet away from the bridge. And he's got explosives all around there. So at this point, he's just going, he's doing his thing and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, right on the other side of the wall, maybe 3 feet in, boom, you hear this massive, and I'm talking massive explosion. Boom, sends dirt debris way higher than what it was for us. Way higher, way much more explosive. I'm talking 50 to 60 pounds of homemade explosives. And this was enough to rock everything and everybody in that area. You were 10 feet, within 10 feet. If those explosives would have been in the same spot as the ones that I got rocked with, they'd be dead. There's no way about it. So this thing rocks, boom, sends a cloud of rocks and everything, probably 25, 30 feet in the air, massive. And in the midst of all that stuff, you can see a body. And what I mean by a body is you can see someone has either stepped on something or someone was specifically made for that. And you see the body go up, blown up pieces. I'm talking pieces. Shit and things that you're not supposed to see. Like, not normal things. You ain't supposed to be like half a torso getting blown up into the air. But that's what you saw. And that's the reality of it. So everybody tries to get with their senses and everything like that. And we have this all GoPro footage. Everybody has GoPros. It was the biggest thing you could have had there because it kind of was your story for everything. And you go and you look at the GoPro footage and all that stuff. And you go to the hole. So at this point, everyone gets rocked. Everybody's trying to get back into the mosque because it's the only safe spot. Everybody gets back in. You start doing a head count. You start looking for all these people, making sure everybody's good. Me, 100%, I was thinking it was an A&A guy. Like, would have been the best thing ever. Unfortunately, yes, because it's not one of our guys. That would have been the best thing ever. Unfortunately, it was not an A&A guy, and it was one of our guys. And it was a team leader from the squad that we were with. And it wasn't from Sergeant Clubmate's squad, and it wasn't from Sergeant Baker's squad. It was from, I forget the name of the other sergeant, big chubby fucker. But no one liked him. He didn't make sense. He was not a good leader, in my opinion. But it was one of his guys. He was a team leader, 21-year-old kid. Had a wife, had a daughter, all this stuff. And now we're going out there as a recovery to pick up body parts, hands, feet, a fucking M4 that got bent like a damn fork. We get up to the hole. You look at the hole. The hole is about 6 feet wide, 6 feet deep. Massive. You look in the bottom of the hole. What do you see? The Kevlar that he was wearing, his helmet that he was wearing, is the only thing left in that hole. Then you start walking a little more. You find a radio. You find... It's just things that you just shouldn't have to find. Things that you didn't have to find. Because, in my opinion, we shouldn't have went there. And we didn't even make it there. At the cost of what? The cost of a life? I mean, it's not... In my opinion, it wasn't worth it. Then Sug, everybody comes back in. We get Matt V's to go out and they kind of push over. They got these big 500-600 pound wheels and they push over everything, over the dirt and stuff like that. And they're out there, they're picking up stuff that you don't want to pick up, man. It's just things you're not supposed to see. But unfortunately, that's kind of the nature of the beast. And Sug comes back in, he's sitting down, and I fucking straight face, as straight as I could. I told him, I said, I told you not to fucking go to that bridge. Like I told you, time and time again, and now look what happened. And I thought he was going to kill me. 100% this dude's going to kill me because he was still in that anxiety and that your adrenaline's going, and mine is too, But to be put in that position, it's hard, I can't justify, and I ain't against Sug. That's my dude, But at some point in time, someone of greater leadership had to make the decision on that, and they're the ones that's going to have to live with that shit, and they're the ones that are going to have to deal with it, unfortunately. But I knew that I wasn't going to have it on my conscience because it's not something that I wanted to do or I wanted to say was okay. So yeah, unfortunately, we didn't make it to Sparta Bridge, and unfortunately, we lost our boy on that day. And all for what? We all after that happened. What do you think everybody did? Hell no, we ain't going out nowhere. We're going, but we ain't doing what we say we're gonna be doing. Nah, nobody want to do shit. Now everybody listens. It's just like anything you do at work. People get hurt at work. People do dumb things at work. It's always after the fact. After the fact. After someone gets hurt. After someone gets killed. That's when the mentality changes. But, I mean, there's people always speaking out about kinds of things. If you don't fucking listen to them, that's your fault. But on that day, that's like that whole scenery. And we still had another month out there, man. Like, they'll talk about the longest month of your life. Every single day. 3 patrols a day. That was gnarly shit. It just wasn't things you want to do. It just wasn't things you wanted to see. Every day you go out for your patrol, you grab your legs, you'd be like, damn, these things are nice. Might be the last day I have them. Because sometimes, I mean, you can be as good as you wanted. It didn't make a difference. You make one mistake, you get off the trail a little bit, whatever it is. And that's the way it all was. And that's the shitty part about it. And the thing that pisses me off the most and the thing that irritates me the most is regardless of if you think you were right or wrong, like my decisions and my conscience that I have to live with, regardless if I think I was right or wrong or anybody else was right or wrong, it doesn't make a difference. Because after we left, another unit went there. I think it was 2nd CB, which is where when I got back to Japan and I PCS'd and went to 2nd CB, they were en route to go to Sangin. And, I sat there, I taught the classes, I talked about these kinds of things. A guy who has seen enough and done enough to be like, hey, this is what's going to happen. And I'm like, you guys can take it for what it's worth. All I'm letting you know is that if you go to this place to make a name for yourself, people will start to die. That's what it is. And I tell these kids, 18-year-old kids, 21-year-old sergeants, 22-year-old sergeants, I'm telling you, I'm like, hey, this place is no joke. If you go there to find shit and you find the wrong thing, it's going to cost somebody their life. And I told that to the platoon that was ripping with us, the engineers that was ripping with us. When they came to Sangin, I said, if you guys don't listen and do what I say, you're going to die. And I PCS, and I get check into 2nd CB. I'm like, hey, how this platoon doing? How these guys doing? 2 or 3 guys are already dead. 4 guys are already dead. 7-month deployment, the squad's already gone. Like, you're sending more engineers over there because no one fucking listens to this shit. And I'm like, did I not make sense when I said these things? I'm like, are people everybody just tries to make a name for yourself. We call them ribbon chasers. You're chasing ribbons. Like, I get it. But you can only test that so many times before shit hits the fan. And you got to live with that shit. And that's the shitty part about it. So, Sangin was no joke, man. That place was no joke. And then after that, a couple years later, what we do? We give it all back to them anyways. So, it's for no reason. So, y'all can be a bitch all you think that I want. Whatever. It doesn't make a difference. All I know is I was like, man, I'm going home to see my family. That's it. And because of the decisions that were made, some people didn't. All for what? We gave it all back anyways. It didn't make a difference. And I don't give a fuck. It's not my position, not politics, nothing like that. I was lowest man on the totem pole, just doing what I was told. But I knew when to voice my opinion when it counted. So, unfortunately, that was Sangin Valley in a nutshell. And it cost a lot of people their lives, and it was crazy. That was definitely a huge change from Marja to that, like night and day. That place was night and day. It was crazy. It's cool. So it is nice to talk about and say these things now, after the fact and stuff. At the point in time, you're 20, you're about to turn 21 in that shithole. January 31st, turn 21. Bam. Cool. Didn't get to have a drink. Didn't have to do none of those stuff. It was crazy. So, but that's about it for this episode. I mean, it was pretty good. That's kind of kind of one of the more realistic and more touching stories, I guess, that I got to say. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, just let me know. If you got any topics that you want to talk about, whatever, it doesn't make a difference. I'm here. I'll talk about them. We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll just shoot the shit for an hour and see how it goes, and then from there, we will probably not see. You'll see me next week, but it'll probably be Friday again, because next week I got to be in Michigan. So unfortunately, I will not be here on Thursday. I like the Thursday ones; they're a lot better, but sometimes it doesn't work out like that. But I'll try and do one every week. But I'll try and get my brother on here too, because I know he's been wanting to talk about some ghost stuff and some creepy stuff like that. So we'll see. We'll see what we can get down. All right. But other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening.